especially my friends who don't follow me because of books but for other reasons, and just anyone who's watching this right now. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great year so far. With all the nonsense from 2020, I'm really hopeful that 2021 will be a better year for a lot of us. So for me, so far, it's going great. It's January and I believe that I have done a lot of things that I'm quite happy with. So one of them is that I've started getting back into reading again, and not just getting back into reading, but I think I'm slowly starting to get back into talking about books, and like taking Bookstagram pictures and posting Bookstagram photos and writing reviews and talking about books with people. I've missed that so much. I've left it for a while, for a couple of years, but I'm back now. I don't know for how long, but as long as it's still exciting to me, I'll be here. So I managed to read 7 books in January, and this is the most I've read in a month in a long time. Okay, so the first book that I finished in January, I started it last year, but I ended up finishing it in January, was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So the reason why I picked this up was because I saw a lot of people talking about it. I've been seeing people talk about it and seeing just how like really good it is. So I was intrigued because I love reading fantasy and it sounded like the kind of thing that I would enjoy. So I read it, and I'm not gonna say that it's a bad book because it's not. It is a fantastic book. But I have to say that it was underwhelming for me because it might have been because of the hype, but also I feel like it's just not 100% my cup of tea. It's probably like half of my cup of tea. I did like it, I did enjoy it, but I don't feel like I loved it as much as a lot of people did. And I think that's fine. I think it's fine that, you know, some books I just don't like because I don't like them, not because those books aren't good. And I feel like with The Poppy War, I rated it a 3.5. I would say it's like an average rating. So it's not like it's good. Like I don't regret reading it. So I would recommend The Poppy War, especially if you like reading fantasy and like epic fantasy with a lot of like political intrigue and a lot of focus on like the plot rather than the characters. And that was one of the things I thought was lacking in The Poppy War for me. I'm someone who prefers a lot of character depth and conflict, and just like, I feel like The Poppy War didn't really deliver that for me. So the next book that I read was Layla by Colleen Hoover. And this is, I think, Colleen Hoover's latest book. The reason why I read this actually, because it was free on Kindle Unlimited. So I picked up Layla because it was by Colleen Hoover, and she's quite a popular author and a lot of people love her books. And I have read one of her books in the past. I think it was Confess, and you know, it was pretty good. I didn't love it, but like it was a quick read. And because I was in that momentum of reading, I just wanted something to keep it going. So I wanted to pick something that was light. And would let me just read through it in a day or two. And Layla did do that. I actually finished it in one day. Here's the thing about Layla that you probably don't know if you never really looked it up. It's a paranormal. It is not like her usual other books, which are usually just like romance, contemporary romance, I guess. This one's a paranormal, and I didn't know this when I started reading it. I realized while reading that there were gonna be ghosts in this book, and it freaked me out because I am the world's greatest scaredy cat. I'm telling you, like, I won't even watch a horror movie if you paid me to do it. No, I am not doing that shit. It's not scary, it's just spooky to me because I just don't like paranormal, scary ghost things. But it's not like a horror kind of scary. But it's good. I would say this book, the plot is pretty good. I think like the reason why I rated it 3 stars or 3.5 stars. The pace was really good. And it was interesting enough to like keep reading and like, I kept wanting to find out like what the hell is going on. So yes, I feel like the plot was good, the story was good, and the plot twist, I did not see that coming. But I don't like the writing very much. I don't like the characters at all, especially the main character. He's just kind of a douchebag and I hate him. Don't have high expectations for Layla, and if you're not a fan of like paranormal, I would not read it. Anyway, the next book that I read was The Bastard of Istanbul by Elif Shafak. I don't remember why I picked this up. I think I just saw it on like Kindle for 99p, so it was cheap, and I'm like, Elif Shafak is a popular author, and a lot of my friends love her writing, especially The 40 Rules of Love. Like, all my friends have read it. I'm like, why have I not read The 40 Rules of Love? I have to say I was a little bit disappointed because I was expecting it to be like really good, and to me it wasn't like really good, but it was interesting. I wrote in my review on Goodreads, I didn't write like a proper review, but like the one paragraph I wrote was that the writing is beautiful and the story and the characters are complex. Something felt like it was missing though, and I'm not quite sure what. Yeah, so that was like, that was basically my thought for the book. I think it was a little slow, to be honest. It was slow to get into, but the writing can be really beautiful sometimes. There was this one chapter when I was reading it, I'm just like, wow, this writer is really good at like describing like a vibe of things. I don't know if I like the characters, like any of the characters. I think that's because Elif Shafak, she's not afraid of making her characters so flawed and human and imperfect. And I guess I really like that about her writing and her characters, but I guess I don't really like the plot and the story. So the next book that I read, and this one really caught my eye, and it was Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. And I think it was because of the high rating that I really wanted to read it. Yeah, and I loved it. I absolutely loved Radio Silence. It was just so easy to get into. It was so easy to read. The characters are so lovely. I rated this a 5 stars, man. Like, it's such a good book. It's probably one of my favorite young adult contemporary books. The friendships that come up in this book I love so much, especially between Francis and Aled. Like, this isn't a romance book, but it gives me feels like it is a romance book, and I think that's fantastic. Another thing that I really liked about Radio Silence is it's set in the UK. It's set in, I think, like London or London area, and it's so refreshing to read like a British book, because I live in the UK now and I understand like most of their references and their slangs and like the areas that they go to. It's just great. It's very refreshing, and I want to read more of Alice Oseman's books, definitely. Okay, so the next book that I read is probably my favorite book this month, and it is Starfish by Miss Akemi Dawn Bowman. I really hope I did not butcher her first name. I apologize. I really loved it, and it's probably more because I relate to it personally so much. Like, the book is probably not that great, but because I can relate to it so much, it is amazing to me. So it's about a girl named Kiko. She is half Japanese and half American, if I'm not mistaken. She's very reserved. She's very she gets very anxious to join like big crowded things like parties and things like that. Like, it doesn't seem like she has clinical social anxiety, but she has a lot of those anxious traits that I can just relate to so much. Like, I'm probably not even at her level, maybe slightly below her level, but especially reading it at that time, I just read it at the perfect time. So yeah, I also relate to her family situation as well, especially when she talks about her relationship with her siblings. I relate to that so much. I highlighted so many quotes from this book, like more than 80 plus highlights I made. And I just know that I need to buy a physical copy of this book and have it on my shelf because first of all, that cover is freaking stunning, like beautiful. And I just want to like dog ear all the pages that I really love and maybe even like properly highlight everything. It's just one of those books, you know. So while I was reading all the books I just talked about, and even like a couple of months before this, I started listening to the Ready Player One audiobook. And Ready Player One is written by Ernest Cline. So this was a reread because I read this apparently in 2015 or maybe it was 2016, but like years ago, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It was like my top 3 books that year, and I read like 60 books that year, so it was really good and I loved it back then. So I decided to like reread it on audiobook this time. And I want to say that I definitely loved it a lot more the first time reading it, and like the same like magic wasn't there the second time reading it. I guess it's because I knew everything that was happening and all that. But like if I rated it 5 stars back then, right now I would rate it like a 4 stars. So after I read Starfish, I immediately wanted to read another book by the same author. So I picked up her book Summer Bird Blue, and I rated this 4 stars. Summer Bird Blue is completely different from Starfish, and I guess it's because it's about a completely different story with different kinds of characters, but I still quite enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as Starfish, obviously, but it's still quite a good read. It's about grief and loss and all of that. So it's a very different book from Starfish. It's a lot darker emotionally, and yeah, it was sad. I think I almost teared up at the end. Yeah, so I rated this 4 stars, and I definitely would read more books by the same author. Yeah, so those are actually all 7 books that I read this month. So that is all from me. Thank you so much for watching this entire thing, or even if you skipped some parts, that's cool too. I am very happy to be reading again. Please let me know what was your favorite book of January, and I'll check it out, and if it's intriguing enough, I might read it. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.